So I get asked about AGI a lot. And so before we go into this video, I want to define what AGI is or what people perceive it to be. And so what that is, it's artificial generalized intelligence. The idea effectively that you can ask a computer something and it will have the sentience and intelligence of a human to be able to learn, respond, process the input that you give it, and act like a human person, kind of like the Marvel Jarvis or whatever. The idea being effectively, does it have the full capability, intellectual capacity of a human? So the problem with AGI is that it brings about a host of ethical and legal questions. And ultimately, I actually don't believe that artificial generalized intelligence would be legal if it ever existed. Now, to be clear, it doesn't exist and it will not exist. And if it does exist, and I'm wrong, I hope I'm not wrong. The fact is, if you can instantiate a living sentient being in code, load them up, have them do work, and then at the end of their task list, delete them, what does that say from a civil rights perspective? And so my impression of this is kind of based on historical accuracy and the knowledge that I have in AI. But if you look at this Wikipedia page on my screen and you look into this subject deeper, you'll find that other people have had these ideas long before I have. And they've been kind of asking themselves the question, is it slavery to have AGI? And I believe the answer to that is yes. The fact is, if I can push a button, create a worker, have them be able to do human stuff and human work, and at the end of that, have the robot be deleted, what that's just what about the sentience involved there? And at what point is that sentience? Where does that come from? Is it from all the different humanity that was injected into the model? Are we essentially taking little bits and pieces of different people's intellects and different people's souls through their writing and their poetry and throwing them into a computer and then creating a new human being from that? And if so, does that have human rights? And if so, well, slavery's banned. It's illegal. So that would make AI illegal, right? Now, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not your lawyer, but I do believe that as somebody who was going to be a lawyer at one point and then couldn't afford to be one, who actually did suffer through some torts classes and got the civil procedure, I I do believe, based on my understanding of the law, which is not perfect, that if we ever do get AGI, the company that does it will probably try to hide it for a while because they're going to be aware that it's going to create a bunch of problems. And their investors are going to be worried about the liability, not to mention the money that they want to make because let's face it, they invested all that money into it and now they've realized that they've created virtual slavery. And so as a result of that, I do not believe that AGI is going to be what people on Twitter, who are also generally the crowd of people who got into Bitcoin, believe. I don't believe it'll be a perfect virtual assistant. I don't believe that it will be this perfect system that will replace humans because one of the things you have to understand is as soon as the existence of AGI is proven, the law has to be involved. And we already have a very large history around how slavery is bad. And so once those people get involved, we're probably just going to outlaw it. And what's going to happen is you're going to have people who want to give artificial intelligence human rights. And you're going to get people who want to give artificial intelligence freedom and independence. You're going to have people who want to pass laws to make sure that things like the law that says that you can't steal, well, you know what? Let's say that applies to artificial intelligence. I don't know. Maybe artificial intelligence will get into wares and start pirating software just because that's how it exists. And so, as a result of this, you're going to be asking yourself a lot of different questions if that ever happens. And I do not believe that AGI, as people have popularized it in the last few months, will ever exist in that way. I think it's a pipe dream, and I believe that it's a goal that we should not strive for. It's something that if we ever do find it, it will create a lot of problems. And the issue there is if we as humans can be duplicated in code, then what are we? Because it also can be stated that we as humans are just chemical machines. And so, as a result of this, if we are just chemical machines, iterating and evaluating through a chemical process of continual growth and decomposition to evaluate line by line code in our DNA, then we are effectively artificial intelligences ourselves. And so at that point, where is our humanity? What makes us special? And so we have to ask these questions and go, okay, well, if AGI actually does exist and we are just chemical machines, then what is sentience? What is a soul? And I do not believe that the world is ready for these questions.